Automation is not the enemy of relationships. It is the only way to scale your relationships without burning out. Too many business owners still believe that you can either grow fast or care deeply about your client, but not both. I'm going to tell you today that is outdated thinking. The real magic happens when you systemize the human touch so it never gets lost in the chaos of growth. Hey everyone, thanks for joining my channel. I'm Lynea, Carver. I help high-achieving entrepreneurs scale to the top 1% in their field without sacrificing the relationships and the reputation that got them there. Today I'm joined by Jeff Jackel. He is the co-founder of Client Giant. It's a company that's totally redefining how service professionals care for clients, colleagues, and partners. Together, we will explore how to automate your follow-up without losing the human touch. You're going to see why referrals are your most powerful and underutilized growth engine, and how to build a brand people cannot stop talking about.
Operational elements of what you do is never going to be what makes you special. We can automate this. We can allow every real estate agent in the country to deliver this type of experience to their clients without any real effort. Your brand is not your logo in a solopreneurship world, in a relationship world. Your brand is how people talk about you when you're not in the room. The fact that you made the decision and thought, when we're thoughtful enough to both think to do it and invest in it.
Let's get into it. Jeff, I'm so happy to have you on the call today. I have been a huge user of Client Giant. And in fact, I was actually just in there yesterday auditing my account, and kind of as I'm switching my business, I'm like, okay, how am I going to switch this up a little bit? But the business world, as we know, is like obsessed with funnels, leads, metrics, and the human side of our business kind of comes out of it, right? And there's something you can't track, like you can't track the human side of the business on a spreadsheet. And that's actually why I asked you to be here today, because I feel like you have a solution that has really allowed me in my business to scale my client care. And people are, whenever I talk about it, people are just kind of shocked at how I talk about automating client follow-up. And they're like, well, how do you automate it without it feeling automated? And I'm like, oh, it's so easy. The good news is I didn't have to figure it out. You already did that for me. I want to talk to you a little bit more about your story, like Client Giant. Who are you? Where did you come from? Your background in real estate. Here we go. Let's go.
Let's dive in. Well, first of all, thank you so much for being a member. We call our customers or users members of Client Giant because we literally think it's like this club of people who just get it, right? Who understand that like the transactional, operational elements of what you do is never going to be what makes you special. Like you can be as knowledgeable as possible. You can reply to people in 10 seconds, but the difference maker is going to be how you make the people feel in those relationships. And that's really where you need to focus on. So members of that club are Client Giant. So thank you for being a Client Giant. The history of the company is kind of interesting. We've been around for going on 8 years. My co-founder is a guy by the name of Jay O'Brien. So he was in residential real estate here in Orange. We're in Orange County, California. And he was doing well. I mean, he was, selling a lot of homes, helping a lot of people out. It wasn't like necessarily high-end homes. A lot of it, people always say, well, Orange County, you can spend money on people, whatever. He was doing like first-time home buyers, a lot of. And he was going inland a bit where the prices weren't as high. But at one point in his career, after a few years, he was auditing his Zillow reviews, as people do. And he had all 5 stars, and it was like, he's looking at what people are giving him these reviews for. Like, he's so knowledgeable, he's so responsive, he's punctual. And am I allowed to curse on this show?
Whatever you want, Jeff.
Okay.
It's all you. It's all about humanizing.
He looks at it and he's like, I'm fucked because there are 10,000 people within, however many miles of me. And they all check all of those boxes, right? Like being punctual, being knowledgeable, being like having a seamless process throughout the entire transaction. Like that is not a difference maker. And so he decided then and there he was going to completely reorientate his real estate business on the relationship. And so with an assistant that he had at the time, who was a TC, he started to do essentially what we do now. As soon as somebody went under contract, buyer or seller, he was going to send them something thoughtful, acknowledging that the first 5-10 days are the most stressful. Is this going to go? I've got all these inspections, especially first time home buyers, right? And then what's going to happen after that? What happens when, okay, the loan is approved? What happens when inspections go through and they're giving up their EMD? And now this is really happening. Like, let's celebrate that moment. And the idea was, how do you fill all the pits of the experience and raise all the peaks and then buck the system at the end? Whereas most agents would give you a closing gift the second that they close. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I know how much you made on this transaction, and you just gave me a $250 gift card to Lowe's, right? Like these two things don't equate. And so he would do a month later, he would have a maitre d' at a really nice restaurant in Orange County. They'd get a call. You've been in your home for a month. Mr. O'Brien would love to have you and your husband, you and your wife, you and whomever out for a night at dinner. We'll
Wow.
have a car come pick you up. What night would you like to come? And then he would never let somebody go. So like what is now top of mind, every 3 months, he would have something arrive at their doorstep that was just thoughtful, thinking of them, not branded, not asking for referrals. And what do you know? His business exploded. He started, especially with social media, he started to get more referrals than he could handle. He ended up getting named top 30 under 30 in the country with National Association of Realtors, started speaking all over the world. He got flown to South Africa to talk to a huge brokerage and give them the playbook. Here's what I do on day 1, day 7, day 15, day 30, day and forever. And everybody said, I'm going to do this, and of course they don't, because it's way too much energy. I met Jay. I do not have a background in real estate. My background's in technology. I had built 3 or 4 web and mobile based platforms around connecting people and around community and communication. I was a client of his. My wife and I rolled into a Wells Fargo one day because my wife insisted that we needed to get approved to figure out what we were looking at, what homes we could afford. And she said, "Do you have an agent?" I'm like, "No." She goes, "I have the best person for you. He's going to be your best friend." And I'm like, "I don't need a best friend. I apparently just need an agent because my wife won't stop bugging me." Drove across to his office, and the rest is history. We've been best friends and business partners for 10 plus years. But I watched what was happening, and I said, we can automate this. We can allow every real estate agent in the country to deliver this type of experience to their clients without any real effort, right? The effort, of course, of being thoughtful enough to push a button and, of course, pay for it and invest in the relationships. But we can make them all look like heroes and make all their clients feel amazing. And it's sort of the rest is history. We ran a thing on a speaking engagement he had. We got the 100 first signups on the spot from the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we launched and we were in all 50 states in Canada within 6 months, and it's kind of grown from there.
You said something a minute ago that I think is really important. And that is that every single real estate agent does the same thing. We all do the same thing. And I remind people of that all the time, like in all my coaching calls. And I swear sometimes they probably hate me because I'm like, look, we all do the same thing. I can sell a house. You can sell a house. I can list a house. You can list. Literally, that's what our license allows us to do. So the only thing that really sets us apart is the relationship that we build with our clients.
100%.
So
And by the way, I'm sure we'll get into this because
yeah,
I know you're interested in it and you're super ahead of the curve. That is only going to get more true and more
oh
extreme
yeah,
as AI takes over this industry.
100%. Actually, funny is when you said that, because right before the conversation, I was telling you how I built these custom GPTs to get the information that I wanted. And I learned in that whole process, I learned that, I shouldn't say in that, I've known this for a while. Like I adopted AI a long time ago, and I have been like spending so much time and just learning how to make it think like me. And I finally figured out the key. And it actually sounds human. And so when you're thinking about automation and you're thinking about AI and you're thinking about, all of these like scaling these relationships and whatnot, sometimes it sounds like it's impossible, right? Because I get that a lot. Do you get that people think it's like impossible to scale relationships or scale client care?
Yes, but not at the degree that you're talking about. So I think the good news for good realtors is that the way of thinking that you were talking about is way beyond 99.9% of people, meaning to recognize or to have an issue or concern about it being scalable means you have to already have decided and learned and seen that it is effective to focus on relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell people, because again, I didn't come from this industry. I always tell people, like, we're pretty lucky that we honestly only deal with the best few percent of real estate agents. Like the average real estate agent is never even going to come to us because they don't even realize or recognize yet the commoditization of their offering. They don't yet realize. We can get into this, and it sort of, I guess could offend some real estate agents, but it's like this industry, even when people will tell us like, hey, can I put my face on those moving boxes? But I've got to put my logo on everything. Like there is a natural innate belief that something about just you being, you and doing your service, whatever, somehow makes you special. And it's just like proven untrue time and time again. Like what makes you special and your brand, let's say, right? Your this brand that you want to put your logo on. Your brand is not your logo in a solopreneurship world, in a relationship world. Your brand is how people talk about you when you're not in the room, and how much they
100%.
want their friends to meet you. Like how diehard they will say, no, 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 no. I understand that your cousin just got the real estate license. I understand you might be able to save a 0.5% or whatever, but you have to talk to Lynea. Like you have to. Even if you don't decide to go with her, you have to talk to her first. Trust me, she's the best.
Yes. That is, we're speaking the same language. I'm like, oh my gosh, I saw how excited I got. I was like, yes, that is so true. It's like a brand is not a logo. Like, don't get me wrong. I love to have my font and my colors and I
Of
like to
course.
have the scheme. Like, I like it right for cohesiveness online.
And
100%. And
professionalism. You've been
professionalism.
taken
Right.
seriously. You are
Right.
now one step above the folks who are ignoring the details.
Correct. Correct. But when it comes to my brand, that's my reputation.
Hmm.
That's what people say. Like you said, that's what people say about me when I'm not in the room. And so
Hmm.
I have worked really hard in my own business to automate as much as possible because for me, my brand is consistency. My brand is proactivity. My brand is not having to be that one who's like this, like the
For
head, the
sure.
head above the water, just barely. Like my brand is like my whole body's above the water.
For
And
sure.
so Client Giant has really helped me do that at a level that now I'm like, if someone wasn't taken care of, I'm like, why? What happened? What
Yeah,
happened in the
for sure.
process? Like it's
You
not a
should be able to
person.
rely on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a process now. And so when you start to build this company, you and Jay both had something to do with it. Who was the mastermind behind like the gift selection? Who is the mastermind? I mean, I'm sure you're the mastermind behind the technology piece, but like who was kind of the mastermind and what kind of filter did you put on all of those things?
Um, so it's so different now. It's kind of like the evolution, and I'm only forced to think about this, or I guess I only have time to stop and think about this in a format like this. So this is really fun. Um, in the beginning, we were, I don't want to say guessing, because I think, well, first let me caveat this by saying, and it's one of the misconceptions. What we do and the way it's delivered is really not about what the gift is. Like, you know that because you have been doing it for a long time, but so many people are always fixed on it. I really want to see and approve every single gift and whatever. And I understand that. I understand people are so like they want the control, and they also like innately probably think they can, do it better, or that they have unique ideas, or whatever that might be. So I empathize with it. But we have learned, like, at this point, when I say it's so different from 7 years ago, at this point, like, I'm a data dork, and what we do is based on data. We do so many like trials and attempts and get feedback, and like we dive into social psychologists of what are people thinking coming out of COVID. When were people ready to stop being, you know um so serious about not cleanliness, but moving to something like, when were they ready to start thinking about traveling again, or when were they ready to not be so clinical, I guess is the word, about like hand sanitizer, and but maybe we should do something that is about making the home smell good, or like trend forecasters that we bring in to tell us 9 months ahead of time that charcuterie boards are going to be sweeping the nation before anybody knows. And then we have, we work with a publisher to build 75,000 books. And it's so scientific kind of, and a known entity to us now. But that said, it really is not about the gift. We know that over 80% of the reception of something in this type of relationship, meaning it's a crossover between a business relationship and a friendship, is what we're really trying to do. And based on trust.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is based on the message. The why did you send this thing? So, like, as an example, um, early on, Jay had done this. We actually haven't done this at Client Giant, but it was something that we used as a basis when we started to bring on whole team. Now there's whole teams that do all the gifts. What are we going to do? What are we going to send? What's the messaging? Let's do the testing, all that kind of stuff. In the beginning, we were going on instinct and just knowing that the way both of us had always handled and approached business relationships was just to care more, just to listen better, care more, and know how somebody is going to react to something you do. So early on, there was it was going to be a particularly rainy season here, and there was Jay did this on his own. It was, he sent out a whole bunch of these like umbrellas, like a little pop-up umbrella, pretty decent quality, and it just says it's going to be a particularly rainy winter. Here's an umbrella for you. I'm sure you have one. Here's an extra one to keep in the trunk in case you get stuck in the rain, or if you should see a pedestrian in need, it's your chance to be the hero. Hope you're doing well. So what does that message tell you? One, the person who sent this for you is thoughtful enough to look out for you possibly getting caught in the rain, but it's the kind of person who would even think to keep an extra umbrella in the back of their car in case they see a pedestrian stuck. Your thoughtfulness has been branded via the messaging, not the umbrella.
Yep.
Because the way that a normal thing would do is, here's an umbrella, have a great winter, or whatever you would, you know what I mean? Like the messaging and the why you're thinking of someone, and also doing things to put it in their personal lives. Like you've seen, we've done a whole lot of things where it's like, our members will get messages 2 months later from something that was sent that said, I just enjoyed this thing that you sent me with my family at the Christmas dinner table.
Yes.
And they think like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Our members message us like, I can't believe this. And you're like, we literally designed it with the intention that they would bring this out at family occasions, and you would be subtly injected into an awesome moment for them and their family. So I don't want to take any of the magic out of it, but it's like at this point, so much strategy, planning, testing, and thought, and multiple people go into choosing what those things are. But even more importantly, the timing of when they go out and what the message is that's attached.
Yeah. And you hit on something that I was thinking as you were explaining, that was the experience that the gifts create. Like I just got a message from someone yesterday who said, I can't wait to take this question game to, we're going camping. We're taking the family out to the cabin this weekend, and the question game is coming with me.
It's one of my favorite.
I love
That's
it.
absolutely one of my favorite things. Yeah.
I love it.
Love it.
And it, like that went out during holiday, I think one year.
Ahead of holiday. It was like October, so that because it's strategically, it's like, okay, we can hope to be part of Thanksgiving. We can hope to be part of the holidays.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what happened is my clients were texting me like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. This is going to be awesome for family dinner, awesome for Thanksgiving dinner. And I'm like, okay, perfect. And then the other one that I think really does a lot for kind of injecting you into the moment without really thinking about it is the nod pod. And that's a one-off gift I found, but it's awesome because it's like, first of all, you give it to someone. Like I like to do that as a one-off gift, like just thank someone for pouring into me or pouring into my team. Right. I just like, and then I know that you're busy. So let me give you this nod pod. And I sent that out 3 times last month, just as a one-off gift. And every single time, all of those people were just like, someone was almost in tears when they were sending me a thank you video, because it was like just taking the thoughtfulness, right? It's taking the time to think about the person enough and find something that helps me relay my message, which is,
for sure,
I appreciate you and you're probably stressed out and I want you to rest and take care of yourself.
100%. So two things to follow on that. You'll notice almost nothing that we do or that ever gets sent out is consumable. There are a couple of cases.
Pizza kit, at-home pizza kit.
Sure.
But you have to make it to the family.
But that's an experience. That's an experiential gift. That's the same thing as like the movie night. It's an amazing one. Giving people, even though they could do it anytime on their own, being the person to instigate a movie night at home with your kids with old-fashioned movie candy and all that kind of stuff. It's like you created this experience for them. But when they're strategic. So like there is one in transaction packages, which we haven't talked about, but basically the whole thing I talked about that Jay did earlier. Mm-hmm. Following and raising the pits and elevating the peaks of the experiences that they're going through when they're in a transaction. One of those touches is consumable. There's treats and whatever, but that developed over time because we learned that with the timing of when that one goes out is after they have decided to move. And this is if they're buyer or if they're seller and they're going to a new property. They don't want another thing to have to pack. So like it's being so... I forget some of the nuances and how much we've learned about how to strategically do those things. But another thing I want to touch on with what you were just saying. So for your viewers and listeners, like most of what we do is set it and forget it. You make a decision to take care of somebody, and then we use, algorithmically, essentially things go out at optimal times with optimal messaging, et cetera, which you can customize. But should you do nothing, we've already done it. Less than 4% of messages get edited in our system as of right now.
Yeah, there's no time because the thing is that you get the reason why I'm going to caveat real quick. There's a text message that comes and says, just so you know, your top of mind gifts are going out. The last time to change it is like by tomorrow or 2 days from now or whatever the date is. And I'm like, at first, when I first started it, 3 or 4 years ago, I was kind of like, okay, let me check it every time. But then I was like, oh my gosh, I can't scale this. This is not scalable. So now I just let it go, and it's perfect every time, and no one knows. They don't know.
No. So that was going to be my point
Yeah.
is, and I love that you're using text messages. People can use email, they can use text message, whatever their preferred form of notification is for these things. But then, like you were saying, there are things once people start utilizing it and they see how easy it is. Now, all of your people are in your Client Giant account. So
Mhm.
you can at any point push a button and in 15 seconds send them the nod pod, send them whatever it
Mhm.
is, right? People are asking, or they'll talk to you about like, well, I'm utilizing automation, or I'm utilizing software to do these things. Jay and I talk about this on our podcast all the time, and he doesn't even understand. He's like, why would someone think that that in any way takes away from the sincerity or thoughtfulness of it? All you did was change the moment within which you were thoughtful. So if you, let's say you utilize home anniversary touches. So you're not waiting for a year later to send that. Like right when the thing closes, you set them up for a 1 year anniversary, touch to go to them. And our system just does, we know when that anniversary date is because we know when it closed, and it's going to go out automatically for you. The fact that you made the decision and thought, when we're thoughtful enough to both think to do it and invest in it, well, when you did it a year ago instead of at that exact moment, takes absolutely nothing away from it.
Right.
It just shifts it. And then the other thing that I always think is so ridiculous whenever you hear that is it's like, be realistic with your life. Be realistic with your time and the energy limitations that you have. It's like the most thoughtful thing in the entire world, I think, to be realistic about. I'm probably going to forget this, or I won't think to do it later, or I don't want to risk missing it later, even if I could remember it. I'm going to make a decision right now, and I know what the effect's going to be, 12 months from now.
And it's interesting because, I want to talk about how all what we're talking about is great thinking, right? But actually relating it to business impact and what it can do. And you
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
segued very perfectly there. It's interesting because, people talk about having to stop and do something, right? Like you think about like a year from now, I have a home anniversary gift. Okay, cool. I'm just going to send them a home anniversary gift every year. I'm going to send them a thank you card every year. And while I love the thoughtfulness, the process behind writing a handwritten thank you card every year, let's be real. July 30th, 2026, what is Lynea going to be doing? We don't know. We don't
Who
know if
knows?
she's going to be traveling. We don't know. We don't know. Hopefully, July 30th, 2026, I am literally not in the same position I'm in today. Because, and as I grow and as I scale, and as real estate agents grow and scale their business, you have to kind of think about, is the process that you're doing today, is it going to help you scale in the future?
Right.
Or are you going to have to stop and go back?
Right.
And I like your thought process of the thoughtfulness just happened at a different time.
100%. Yeah. It's like, I was
Right.
just talking about, I've got, friends that, like, let's say something terrible happens in their lives. They lose a parent, they lose a loved one, whatever it is. Sometime shortly after, when I learn about that, I will put something in my phone to remind me of this date every single year into infinity. And I might send it the day before, I might have another reminder the day before, but I'm going to reach out to that person and let them know I'm thinking of them
Mm-hmm.
every year on that anniversary
Mm-hmm.
for however long. The fact that I give myself the grace of realizing I might forget that and I don't ever want to, so I did it today to make sure I get a reminder every single year, takes absolutely nothing away from the impact that it has on them knowing they're being thought of on that anniversary annually.
I
Right.
would
So
I would almost argue that it makes you more thoughtful because I am a believer in, like, if you want people to treat you like you're not a commodity, you have to treat your business like it's an actual business, right? And I think that I would actually argue
I'm nervous to go on to that topic.
like I would argue that it actually helps you become even more of a professional and more of a relationship oriented person when you can think about how you can impact people into the future, not just today.
Linnea, what most of your viewers and audience and whatnot, what I don't want to say level real estate agent or real estate professional, where are they at in their career?
I would say that most are about 5 years in, 5 to 7 years in, and so that's about the time that they start to realize that something's not working. And honestly, I guess let me back up. I would say about 60% are about 5 years in, and 40% are well over 10
Okay.
years into the
But
business.
they're doing pretty well, right?
They're doing volume, yes.
They're top 5-10%.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that just the numbers are that, like, everyone is, your top 10% or you're not doing much of anything.
Right.
So the reason I say I hesitate to jump on that topic is I'll give you a little history. Prior to this, like, yes, I had run technology companies. I could give you a whole, litany of things that I did early on around for larger brands with a couple companies around the experience of a customer and how to follow the customer journey, what they're thinking and feeling on every entrance point into your brand, into your business, and how to really dissect that and create an experience worthy of your brand. That's a way to think of it, I think, for every single way. But along the line, I did a lot of business consulting in a whole lot of different industries. And when we launched this and I started to speak with real estate professionals every day, in the beginning, we didn't have any salespeople, right? I was Jay a bit too, but I was talking to like everybody. When you say to treat your business like a business, this like hit me like a ton of bricks within 6 to 12 months of us even launching, which is frightening because by the very nature of what we do, we're only dealing with the best real estate agents. And still,
Yep.
I am every single day, I'm like, how are some of these people so successful at what they're doing and they are not operating it's like a business. It is still I don't want to say it's like a hobby, but it's like it's a very hard thing for me to understand. So like for example, I always tell people there's two reasons people come to us in a sense. One is obviously make yourself look like $1,000,000, make your clients feel like $1,000,000, grow repeat and referral business. And now at this point, 7 years in, we've got data up the wazoo of people driving referrals and exploding their business and just like I mean, it's not a secret and it's not really that novel. The law of human reciprocity is natural. Make someone feel good, they're going to do what they can for you. They have a knee-jerk reaction to do more for you than you did for them. The second reason is just make life easy, right? Like just Jay did a talk once called Zoom Out and Reclaim Your Life. It literally means stop deluding yourself that you need to be on the hamster wheel in every single thing. If you do this right and you focus on relationships, you can operate a business in a way that is scalable. And it's just mind blowing to me how few folks that I talk to who are very successful, one, understand the idea of investing in their business like it is a business, right? Like the ROI that we have proven for people in real estate is like if there was something that was that foolproof in our world, I would do it 20 times. I would literally pay 20x because the ROI supports it. But you ask the average real estate agent, okay, put 100 people on this. It's going to cost you whatever, 11,000 something dollars. You're going to get 400 touches per year. What do you get from one commission? They're like, I get $20,000. Okay, so of those 400 touches, you got to get one referral. One. When we've had people get 9 in 1 quarter, right? The whole idea that a business, like the way that a business does marketing or does advertising efforts or does any kind of growth efforts is here's what it costs to acquire a new customer. Here's how quickly I can acquire them. So long as this happens in X amount of time, I can be cash flow positive. I've got my return. Do you know how rarely I speak with a real estate professional who understands that and is actually operationalizing like a business would for growth goals?
Very,
Almost never.
very rarely.
Almost never. And then even everything that you're talking about with scalability and the idea of like anything that you do more than once, twice deserves a process, a formal process in your business. Anything that you do or should do regularly deserves automation.
100%.
And if you don't put those things into place, what do? You're now wasting time
So much time
that you could be doing things that only you can do.
But do you run into this? Because this is what I run into. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I work, some of my clients, my actual coaching clients are between, I would say 50 to 70 homes a year. And within each of those, I find that the thought process is so focused on the dollars out, on people, on automations, on tools, and they don't focus on the dollars in, which is here. And so I think like you kind of just hit the nail on the head when you said, if you can spend 11,000 a year. By the way, he's not talking 11,000 a month. He's talking 11,000 a year. Real estate agents spend more than that on staging properties. They spend more than that on, there's $11,000 a year is honestly nothing in the real estate industry. Yeah. Quite frankly, if you're selling homes, if you're not selling homes, it's a lot.
It'd be 11.9, and that's for 100 people. Some people can choose to start. I don't start with 50. Start with 75, right? Like, and then and then grow. Like the number of the percentage of people, I mean, staggering fact that's almost embarrassing. Our growth as a company, like new customers, new members that come in, 92% of them come from another member who referred them. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
just goes to show
embarrassing because it
referrals.
means we're not doing a great job with outbound marketing to new people,
Uh-huh.
but it's also, I'm super proud of it because it means no one's going to refer someone something that doesn't work. It doesn't make them money, doesn't make them feel great and
Right.
simplify their lives. So, but yeah, you're right. Like the idea of, well, actually, I'll throw another one at you. That's pretty fun that I think about all the time. So if you ask any real estate agent, okay, what are you doing for strategic growth? I'm not even saying the way that we do it, obviously, is strategically growing their favorite source of business. Like your favorite source, like, I'll just pause right now and let people answer for themselves. What's your favorite source of business? It's a referral, like a red hot referral. If it's anything else, you're like it's cuckoo. So not even talking about what are you doing to strategically grow your favorite source of business, just what are you doing to strategically grow? People would do things like, mailers and digital advertising and all the things, right? A million different things that they're paying money for, and they're doing these things. And then you nail it down and you say, okay, here's the deal. The only one that begets itself is driving referrals.
Yep.
Don't like if you that's the only one. Of all the rest of them, if you want to keep getting new customers through those other methods, you have to keep doing them forever.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just focus on creating an army of referral business, you only have to set that one and that will replenish itself.
100%.
Right. So like when people are like, I don't want to spend, 11 grand on this, you're like, you're going to keep doing all the rest of them forever and constantly burning new people, let alone like, don't even get me started when somebody is like, oh, I've learned also, oh, my split's a lot better too when it's a referral versus getting these, from my brokerage. And you're like, I can't.
Like I'm done. Speechless. Um, so
Okay,
you know,
we'll stop talking about. We know that everybody that's listening and watching this is not the people we're talking about.
no,
These people get it.
yeah.
They get it, and they're.
If this conversation is sparking ideas for how you can scale without losing the human touch, let's talk about it. I offer a free strategy session where we'll map out how to build a burnout-proof business with systems that keep you top of mind with your best client. Book your call in the link below. Touch on that for a minute because, Client Giant is not just for clients. It's
Correct.
for colleagues, it's for employees. And you guys have recently added that feature. I don't know, you know better than me, but I noticed it in the last maybe 2 years or so. But
Employee happiness.
What?
Employee happiness.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was that the like last couple of years?
Yep.
Yeah. And so what I've actually started doing is I've started actually like using that for my referral partners. Because I get so many, my business is 100% referral right now. And I would say of the referrals, it's probably 50-50 real estate agents or lenders versus past clients. So it's like 50-50. So I've actually started using my gifting to stay top of mind for my referral partners. And really the whole reason Client Giant came for me was because my story is like back in 2021, I completely burnt out of the business. I was just like you just said, I was that agent who was putting so much money into lead generation. The story I share is that year I spent $318,000 on outbound marketing.
Oh.
And it's a lot of money. And it's also the year that I made the most amount of money, but really showed the least amount at the end. And profit and loss, I actually had a negative P&L that year. And so what I had to do is I basically looked at my business and I completely fired myself. I was like, this is not working. And after reanalyzing the best sources of my business and really I really dug into my ICP, ideal client profile, for those who don't know what that means. But I really dug into my ICP and I realized that they were coming from relationships. Like I had to get to that realization myself, right? So I realized they were coming from relationships, and that's when I really started going heavier into Client Giant, because I was like, there's so much of a better way. And it actually happened because, this is how it worked for me. And I'm sure you probably have a couple other stories of other clients,
Sure.
But this is how it worked for me is when I realized that my relationships were the number one piece. And I realized I already had a tool that I was kind of utilizing. I was kind of utilizing Client Giant, but not to its fullest extent. And I actually started picking up the phone and I started calling my clients and saying, hey, I just want to say thank you for all the support you've done, or all the support you've given to my business. Do you mind if I just start saying thank you every so often? And they were just like, oh my gosh. And that conversation right then and there, that led to referrals because it
Mm,
reminded them, like I didn't tell them about send me someone who's looking to buy or sell a house. I didn't have
no.
any of that. It was all about thank you. And do you mind if I do this? And then after the first gift that went out, the first top of mind gift that went out, I called them all and I just like was like, hey, I just want to double check. I talked to you, a few months ago, told you I was going to be doing this, testing the waters. How'd it work? Did you get the gift? And they were
Mm,
like, oh my gosh, I love it. And so from there, now we have automated texts that go out. Honestly,
yep.
every time I know top of mind's going out, we have an automated text. Well, it's not, we have to manually push it because you can't automate it 100%. I
Sure.
don't think. I don't think you integrate with Follow Up Boss that way. But that's how it's been really
But
cool.
when you send them out now, you don't ask about the gift. You're just checking in systematically,
Yep.
somehow on a timeline related to the delivery.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of what the result is reversing the line of communication,
Yep.
where they will reach out to you,
Yes. Happened
right? Like,
yesterday.
so to you, it's normal. To me, it's normal because you've been doing this for a long time, and because this is what I do every day. But like, for a quote unquote normal real estate professional
Mm-hmm.
to out of the blue hear from a client and then have them call you and just like have a personal moment with you, whatever, like that literally never happened. They're like, people listening that are probably like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And here's what the thing that smashed me in the face again in the first however many months is, this is the only industry, and again I've consulted for a whole bunch, this is the only industry that refers to these people as past clients.
Mm-hmm.
Like that whole nomenclature should be stricken from the mouth of every single
Good
real estate
work. Good
agent on the
point.
planet, right?
There's,
Like
there's a lot of
they're
compliance. There's a
only
lot of
they're only a
compliance
past
behind
client.
a client.
What's that?
There's a
Oh,
lot of
okay. But that's in technical terms.
yeah.
When you're talking
Yeah.
about, like, we
Sure.
people say that all the time. Well, I've got 300 past clients. Like, the first thought that goes into my mind is like, they're only a past client because you left them in the past. Like, so somebody that's doing what we help them do, those are your clients.
Mm-hmm.
They're your clients. Like, I would love if I could be like omnipotent in terms of the data of Client Giant members versus just a standard real estate agent, the percentage of people who will go and do a transaction with somebody else that you'll ever see. Oh my gosh, my client from a few years ago, I don't even want to call him past client, just did a deal with somebody else. I would be willing to bet that like it's a tenth for
Yeah.
somebody that's taking care of their client, probably less,
Yeah.
right? Like there is a 10x likelihood higher that somebody will do a transaction with somebody else, because the stats are wild. Like the NAR stat of your 5 years later, only 12% of people remember the name of the person who helped them buy their house. Like,
Yeah.
just the data is out there. It's just so wild that people don't listen to it all the
Well, I
time.
think it's because like I think a lot of it's probably because people get like nervous to call people. They get nervous to
No,
get nervous.
and
They're like, well, what do I say? We're not even talking here, we're talking about lead conversion. Like someone comes from a lead to convert them. I mean, the number one question I get asked is, what do I say now? What do I do now?
well, that's the whole deal. Is like
Yeah.
there's not that much to talk about. What I'm gonna go on a little soapbox of a couple of things real fast.
Go ahead.
A win, I believe, again, of course, this is how we do everything. A win for a real estate professional with a quote unquote past client, what they think about as past client, somebody you did a deal with 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4, 5, whatever. Best case scenario for you, I believe, is for you to become, and this might sound wild to people because they're not this, you to become the person, you get an occasional text or a phone call from that person that says, hey, I'm thinking of replacing my garage door with a solid wood garage door. What do you think about that? Do you think there's value in it? Is that interesting? Or I'm thinking of putting in a pool. Just curious to know, in the area how that affects property values.
Mhm.
Um, I, you know what, my plumbing is having an issue. Is there somebody great that you can recommend? Like, if you just become synonymous with any being a useful, thoughtful, helpful tool, right? A helpful friend for anything and everything that goes on with my property,
Yeah.
that's your biggest win. That is, and you're staying in their life. Guess what? None of those things have to do with what's my house worth? Should I sell? What's going on with the market? Yes, you can be a resource for those things, but the method, like the path to becoming that just kind of friend who knows everything about real estate and who am I naturally going to call, is just by showing up and
Yeah.
showing that you care about what's going on in their life continuously. If you have a client that you worked with 4 years ago and they've since had a child and you didn't know, like, shame on you. I honestly believe that. Like, shame on you, because I'll give you a story. As you know, I mean, this is all about real estate, and real estate is 85% of our members, but we have a bunch of other industries. Financial advisory, wealth management is our second largest one and growing quickly. I got a message from somebody yesterday who put 100 and something people on, whatever it was. There's a gal, and by the way, because we don't suggest that this is for prospecting and getting new clients, but of course people use it for that because they
Right.
can't help themselves, and it works. There was a gal that he had talked to 14 months ago about possibly, bringing her portfolio over to them. So everybody make this as an analog to selling a house. And they hadn't talked since. They had 2 phone meetings 14 months ago. And then he actually reached out recently to the person who had referred her to him and said, "Hey, that your friend totally ghosted me a year ago." He goes, "Oh, well, you know what? She actually just had a baby, so if it's been in the last couple of months, she's just really busy and made an excuse for it, whatever it is." He goes, "Oh, she had a baby?" Again, he's had 2 phone calls with the person. They're not even a client, right?
Mm.
So he did what you do, right? And he's like, "You know what? That she had a baby. She was awesome. She was really cool. We might never do business together. I'm going to go on and I'm going to send this thoughtful baby gift for her." And he sent it to her, and he sent it to, like, her upstate New York house, and he thought she was there and blah, blah, blah. And then he doesn't hear anything for 2 months. Turns out she wasn't at her upstate New York house. She was in Manhattan. She goes to her upstate New York. 3 weeks ago, he gets a text message from her. "Oh my gosh, how are you? I cannot believe that you sent me this. Thank you so much. I've been underwater with baby, blah, 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 blah. I'll be back in the city in 2 weeks. Can you meet?"
Mm-hmm.
And then before they meet, he says to her, "I don't want to step on any toes. I know you have an advisor. I know you have someone you're working with, whatever. I don't want to, I'm not trying to do that. I would love to meet and see if I can help you with anything else." And she says, "You know what? I've decided I'd like to have everything in one place and I really want to work with you." He hadn't even shown her anything of the technical, operational, commodity part of what he's doing. But she knows this is the kind of person who is going to randomly send her a thoughtful gift because she had a baby and he's had 2 phone calls with her.
Right. It's all about that's relationships at a true level. Like I hosted a call yesterday and I asked the real estate agents on the call, I was like, how many of you consider yourself to be relationship or transactional? And every single one, of course, said relational. Every single one. And so I brought up like examples like what you just said. That's relationship building right there. Like it's not even just about the gift. It's about I'm a human being and you are a human being. And I just want to show you that I'm thinking about you. And this is an important aspect of your life. And I don't care if I ever talk to you again. I just want to let you know, here you go.
100. Okay, what you just said is one of the hardest things to get across, get someone to realize. Because he said to me, I called him when he sent me this text message. I'm like, "You got to tell me more." And I said, "What did you expect when you sent that?" And he goes, "Honestly, I didn't expect anything." He's like, she was a really nice lady. I want to stay in contact with her. Of course, maybe something works out down the line. But she had a kid. I've got 2 kids. It's like it was the most favorite time in my life when I first had kids, and I just wanted to do that. Like, doing those things without expectation, that is being a relational person.
Yeah.
And Jay and I talk a lot about, like, taking off your business hat and putting on your consumer hat or your human hat.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the hardest things for people to do. But if you asked anybody that you coach, that you work with, which of these 2 things is going to have more of an emotional or more of an effect on you, make you feel closer to this person, make you trust them more? If they reach out to you and ask you how you're doing in your home, and if you've heard about you know, the home that I just sold down the street for $1 million or whatever it is, or if they reached out to you and said, "Hey, I know you just had a kid 6 months ago. Just want to see how you guys are doing. I hope everything's going. Even if you wanted to make it about the house, how's the house working with a baby now that you,
Right.
whatever." If you ask an agent which of those 2 things just makes you feel better about that person, is more meaningful to you, would you remember? Anybody that says the former is just lying, right? It's not. There's no world in which. But this harkens back to, like, one of the first things you said in this conversation of accepted practices.
Yeah.
Like, nobody ever did something special by doing what what everyone's always done. So like there's practices, and I don't, this could step on toes. You could get mad at me for this. But when you're saying like people making phone calls, I don't know what to say or whatever it is. We have people all the time that are like, I'm so relational. I am the king or queen of pop buys.
Did you read my
I don't
mind?
I don't know if you're going to get mad at me for this,
Did you
but
read
I
my
have
mind?
literally like I've offended so many people on this subject. Like the best way that I can say it is never in the history of time, except for maybe in the 80s, and it was Ed McMahon bringing you millions of dollars. Never in the history of time has someone knocked on your door unexpectedly and you go to it and you're like, oh, cool. This is a great time for a random person to just show up at my door unannounced. I'm not dealing with two kids in here and I've got like something on the burner and I've got like work that I'm still doing. Like, this is awesome. My best friend, like from childhood, could surprise me and show up at my doorstep unannounced. And I'd be like, dude, why the fuck didn't you call ahead? This is not a good time. There's no person who wants their realtor or any realtor to knock on their door unannounced and pop by their house. Hey, and again, business hat, consumer hat. Put yourself. So when was the last time that you did that?
I'm going to tell you, you
You mad
literally
at me?
read my mind, by the way. I
Oh,
was
thank God.
like, because you said the whole thing, because I'm like, I'm not going to obviously say any names or anything, but the very first coach that I ever invested in real estate, because obviously the second I got into real estate, I invested in coaching. That's the only way I
I
attached
admire
coaching to the
that.
reason I have success today, because I
Well,
believe firmly in coaching. Anyway, the first coach
oh,
that I
wait, hold
had,
on. Okay, sorry, finish this. I want to go back to coaching.
the first coach that I had ever told me, or the whole system was around Popeyes.
Okay.
And I was like, so you want me to just randomly show up at my clients' houses with a gift because it's St. Patrick's Day? And he was like, well, like the whole thought process behind it is just so you can stay top of mind. And that's
Sure.
actually, again, that goes back to my whole client giant thing. I'm like, no, I don't have to stay top of mind and pop up. They don't have to see my face. They don't
God,
have to
no.
see my
I mean,
face.
and this could get me in hot water too. It's like when we have agents that are like, because on our high level transaction experiences, I don't know if you ever did one of these.
I did.
On our higher level transaction packages, you send someone to dinner. You send people to dinner
Mm-hmm.
fully paid for. They never see a bill, which by the way, like find me even like a, wealthy, famous billionaire or something like that who's ever just been sent to dinner and not gotten a bill, only at their private club, right? It's an
Right.
insane experience. They get round trip transportation, etc. Even in those, transaction packages, somebody will be like, oh, I do that. You know what I do is I take my clients out to dinner after the thing, right? And I'm like, which sounds more interesting and exciting and pleasurable to you? Going out to an incredible dinner with your partner or anybody that you choose, your best friend or whatever, or
Going out with your real estate agent.
going out with your real estate agent. Even if you've become pretty good friends with them,
Mm-hmm.
it's still not like it's like people can't take the business transactional, I need to be injected in this side and just get rid of it and do something good for somebody else in the best. What would be the best experience for your client? Would their favorite experience be going to an awesome dinner with their partner, or would their favorite experience being having you sit to the side of them? Like, just be realistic. But real quick on the coaching thing, I actually really commend that you did that from day one for two reasons. One, you were in making an investment in coaching from day one, when most people will say, I can't afford that, right? Like we hear it all the time. People will be like, oh, well, I can't afford to do this. We're like, you can't afford not to start building this,
Right.
right? Like, but you can't see the future, and you don't have the data set of me seeing tens of thousands of real estate agents who succeed and fail and what they're doing differently. But here is the bigger reason why I commend that you did it from day one: the acknowledgement that you have something to learn
Mm-hmm.
is a character trait that I would argue, has probably been one of the ones that made you the most
Mm-hmm.
successful.
100%.
Because the alternative is, I'm just going to do what I've seen everyone else doing for forever, which is a different world, right? Like, people talk about, well, I do this closing gift and yada, yada. I'm like, okay, well, 20 years ago, selling sunset didn't exist. People didn't know exactly like what you were getting paid. Like, they're not looking at that part of the closing docs. And like, you just made all this money and you gave them a gift card for a fixed amount of dollars. It's like, it's a different world, and you got to adapt. The other thing, by the way, that new people say, there's two things. One, I can't afford that. The other one is, while I'm at this stage, I still have time to do all these things. and you're kind of like I'll worry about automation and I'll worry about
Mhm.
process once I'm big enough to need those things. And I mean, I kind of want to smack people and be like, you do realize that everyone who has gotten there only got there because they put things like that in place
Yep.
10 years ago, right? Like I have people that are like, oh, my clients absolutely love the pies that I ship. I deliver 165 pies every November and December. I'm like, are you a realtor or are you a baker? What
Yeah.
how many deals, how many things could you get done that only you can do
Yeah.
in those 6 weeks?
Right. I think that it kind of, the general thought that I have around that, all of that is what I've noticed, because I came from a corporate background. So I worked with C-suite executives. I helped C-suite executives plan, prioritize, and execute strategies that they rolled out to a Fortune 100 company. So like I understand thinking from a CEO mindset. And
Sure.
so when I got into real estate, I mean, yes, my mom was in the business, but my mom's been in the business for 30 years and I've been in the business for almost 9 years. And so
Sure.
it's like we're very different phases of our career here in the real estate industry. I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, yeah, I'm
Right.
going to watch my mom, of course, but I didn't want my mom's business. I wanted my
Sure.
business. And so I had to go out and find the coaches that were going to help me with my business. And anyway, my whole point in the tie-in between my corporate career as well as what I do now is I've been really able to help real estate agents understand that every single minute that you spend doing something that is not establishing or furthering a relationship that you already have is costing you 5 times as much as what you think it's costing you.
Mm.
And I look at it as like, we in this industry, we want to be recognized as highly professional as doctors or attorneys. We want to get paid like doctors or attorneys. And in fact, some of us get paid more than
More.
doctors
Sure.
or attorneys. But I'm going to tell you one thing about a doctor or an attorney that real estate agents could adopt that would help the industry in general move forward and in the right direction that we want to move into is A, automate what as much as you possibly can right now. Automate
Sure.
as much as you possibly can right now. And then B, understand the highest leverage activities. A doctor, an attorney, they understand that every email costs them time. So they're going
Hmm.
to charge per 15 minutes of sending an email. And so
Yep.
if you as a real estate agent are spending 15 minutes driving to a home to deliver a gift, when it could have taken you 30 seconds to click a button on a computer and deliver the same gift with the same impact, because half the time, if you're popping by unannounced, they're not even home.
Hmm.
They're not even home. So it's like, well, why did I spend all my time coming here? It's not like I'm getting FaceTime. So the whole point of the FaceTime is completely gone. It's completely
Right.
void. So it's like
Yeah.
as soon as the industry in general starts accepting that in order to be seen as a professional, like the professionals, we get paid
Right.
and we want the industry to change, and we want these things like all these NAR regulations and all the like the general consumer feeling about the real estate industry. We have to change as an industry. We have to start
Totally.
treating our people and treating the consumer like we are business owners and operators, and start acting like we deserve the respect that we want.
100%.
Yeah,
Can I make it like, I don't want to say scary,
yeah,
but can I?
yeah. Please.
It's an AI discussion that we could have for a very, very, very long
I love
time.
talking AI. Maybe we could come back and have that AI discussion. I
We
love talking
totally can.
AI.
We can do a whole separate
Yeah,
AI talk.
yeah.
But I was watching something, uh, podcast interviews, Tim Ferriss and Chris Sacca. They occasionally do a thing, um, and they were literally talking about like what professions would you have your allow or want your kids to go to college for? Their kids are younger, but or Tim Ferriss doesn't have kids, but Sacca does, and um, it was like, would you want them to be a lawyer? Would you want them to go to law school tomorrow? Well, most of these organizations have gotten rid of most of their lawyers because they do the first 75% of it, with AI,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have somebody on staff that makes these changes. Same thing with most of what, you know, the what these roles are that we think of, a lot of the ones that get paid really, really highly. Who knows exactly how that will happen? But to think, and we have an advisor, different coach from the one that you were talking about, an advisor in our business who has more data on this and is just so advanced. Tom Ferry, I'll just say, with AI. knows everything, knows what's coming. Like he's brilliant. I played golf with him a couple of weeks ago.
I would
The
love to meet Tom Ferry in person. That'd be so awesome.
he is like,
Yeah.
and by the way, try playing golf with the guy. Like he's the most positive human. Like I'll miss a shot and whatever. He'll be like, "That's great. You're gonna get the next one. That just means that the next one's coming. The best one's coming." I'm like, "Oh my god, this is like
Yeah.
this would be what it's like to live with him. You just have a smile on your face all the time because he's so positive." But with AI, the transactional elements, right? Like I honestly believe that within I hesitate to even say a few years, the offering of a real estate professional in terms of the transactional elements of inspection, of documentation, of all of those things, none of that will be left to an agent to do at all, right? They
Already
won't
not.
even be
It's
trusted to,
already
right?
not
Like
in most
it
cases.
right? It already kind of isn't, but there's still a perception
Yeah.
that it is by a client. The difference, one thing that's so interesting with real estate agents I talk to all the time is it's very insular. So like they tend to think naturally, which makes sense, that clients think inside the real estate industry. They think about these things, and in fact, they don't. They don't like it. That's just not the way that it works. They think that, like, well, I've got this realtor down the street who's on my turf, and he's trying to get my this, and your clients, the people in the neighborhood, are not aware of that. They're not thinking about that. They don't care, right? Like, that's not so. I got to keep sending these flyers and these things to every single week to the people, whatever. That's another question that I ask, like Popeyes. I'm like, where do you open your mail? Because I open mine over the trash can, right?
100%.
Like,
I open
and
over the shred bin half the time.
right? So it's like to think that that won't be entirely commoditized, right? To think that you won't only have the relationship piece,
Mhm.
right? So, like, think about if you going back to the Sokka and Tim Ferriss thing. The answer, I think, is like, whereas 20 years ago, you're like, well, man, I really don't want my kid to be a musician or an artist or a chef or a whatever. Well, we might start thinking pretty differently of those things coming up. One, because of the culture of YouTube and people being content creators, et cetera. But two, because that's like individual human expression of art. Sure, people are going to start doing things, but you're going to start the tangible, like the real, like things that have emotion, that are real human, the things that can only be human.
Yeah.
That's all you're going to have to
Right.
differentiate.
That's it.
We believe it already is the case, but it's only going to get more true.
Yeah, which is why storytelling is so important on the front end, like really being in touch with your story and knowing your own story. And like, that's kind of it. I go into kind of like I could talk about that AI and using AI to tell your story. Like there's so many tangents of this particular piece of this conversation that we could have.
We'll do a whole AI. We'll do a whole AI thing at some other time. Let's do it.
I don't think people have any idea at all what's going to happen.
Well,
You just said it was like the relationship piece, but I don't think people realize, like, in Austin, Texas, they have Waymo, right? Waymo is a self-driving vehicle. You don't even need a vehicle. You don't even need a driver anymore. And what's to say that vehicle cannot Bluetooth connect to a key box to let someone in? And then the person goes and does a tour. They come back into the Waymo, and the Waymo says, "Would you like to write an offer? Rate this house on a scale of 1 to 10," and clicks a button. Like, who's to say that that's not already happening?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I promise we'll get off AI right after this and move on to everything else that you have. But okay, so this harkens back, which I think is, again, like one of my favorite personality traits of, like, it's the same thing as the reason why from day one, you realize it's important to invest in coaching. It's people that are listening and watching this, if they are regularly using ChatGPT, right? If
100%.
they have that app on their phone. I remember going to a conference, I think it was Ferry, and he asked how many people have ChatGPT on their phone. Not that many people did, and this was like a year ago, but like most people that are listening to this, they're like, oh, I know ChatGPT. Yeah, I'm totally all about AI. And it's because they have replaced Google with ChatGPT as their initial search. And if they have an unpaid account, I think you can only do 5 per day. The check yourself thing here, like the same way that you recognize you need a coach, is that's not even scratching the surface. Like, to think that I know what's going on, right? Like 2 nights ago, I got no sleep. I woke up at 3:00 in the morning. I've got a very old dog. And I spent 4.5 hours on YouTube's with my favorite AI person, specifically jumping to AI tools that that I don't use regularly. Like, if people knew how many tools are prevalent and used by people who know what they're doing, right? And what they can do and how quickly you can do things, how quickly you can automate. Most people are really only tapping the surface right now of LLMs, and they haven't even looked into like agentic AI,
Yeah.
and what that's going to do to automate your processes.
Yep.
It's focus on humans.
Focus on humans. Just
focus on humans. Because
stop pretending like you're a relationship person and actually be a relationship person. That's all I
focus
have to
on
say.
humans, because the rest of the shit's all going to take care of itself. And I promise you, everyone is going to be offering the exact same. It's just the commoditization of everything. It's the history of every industry.
And that's what we're doing now, even with like using ChatGPT or Gemini on our phone and talking to it. We're basically training it. We're downloading our brains into this information, and like what they're going to do with the information, you don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be real. We don't know what all the information is doing and how we're storing. Like, who knows? So I think, like, to your point,
there's one that's actually really good called Manus, but it's actually owned and operated by the Chinese government. So that's some of them you don't even know who's behind them.
Ah, there you go. See, there you go. Whew, okay, we could talk AI again. AI panel. We should talk about that, the future of AI. Okay, so let's wrap this up.
Sweet.
So people who are, agents, or, I mean, you work with other industries too. I also do. I work with people to help them scale to the top 1% in their field. That's my,
I love that.
Real estate is where I start, of course, because that's where my current industry is. But I work with people in other industries as well. Like today, I actually have a meeting with someone who is a prototype manufacturer, and he wants to scale to the top 1% in prototype manufacturing. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. I got you, right?
I love that.
Yeah, so it's pretty fascinating. But if people wanted to know more about Client Giant, what are all the industries that you serve? You mentioned a few a minute ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, and where do they go to find you?
Our challenge, and again, I'm like a 5-time startup founder. Our challenge, which is a good one to have, which I have not really had before, is what we exist to help people do is industry agnostic, because it is innately human, right? So, again, we're still 80+% in real estate and a lot of financial advisory. But do we have a company out there that's building prototypes? Probably. There's probably one. We've got thousands of members, right? So if they're an agency, I honestly believe that what we do is very important for anybody that is a service business, that is an agency. The idea that people, I mean, even coaches, honestly, the idea that people in any industry sit around that let's say they have a renewal base, right? That their business is based on renewal. They got annual or monthly renewals, or whatever. That anyone sits around and worries, oh my gosh, I wonder if my client's going to renew.
Yeah.
And isn't focusing so much energy on making that person, that client, feel cared for as a human, not just as a dollar, right? Not just as a revenue stream. I think is crazy not to be focusing on this entire, whether they do it with us or not, right? So the challenge is honestly that we're industry agnostic, and that this is proven to work all over the place. We've got huge corporations taking care of all of their employees at different levels. We've got huge corporations that are entirely B2B, taking care of their clients and vendors and partners. And that's a very interesting kind of misconception about, well, B2B is a business. How do you take care of a business? The idea that all the decisions are not made by 1, 2, 3, 4 human beings who have wives and husbands and children and live their lives in vacation, and that you can't be a part of their life like that, and they then let them know that you care about them, is cuckoo. I always quote this line from a Nicolas Cage movie, believe it or not, called Family Man. You ever seen it?
Yep, I have. I love that movie.
It's wildly one of my favorites, and it's so not well known. But in a line in that, he says, Wall Street, Main Street, they're all people, and I know people. So keeping that in mind, whatever the industry is, it's just based on the law of human reciprocity, making people know you care about them, and the results kind of speak for themselves. So primarily, long-winded way of saying, primarily real estate, financial advisory, when wealth management, insurance, a lot of things where it's solopreneurs, but B2B as well.
I love it. Yeah. And coaching. I mean, it's we're now integrating into my coaching business for sure. So
100%. Like I said, it's human. And truthfully, we have people who take care of their family. We have people who take care of spouses and sisters and brothers and cousins. And
I'm not gonna lie, I've thought about it. I've thought about putting my friends on the birthday thing, because I'm like, I'm just so busy, and I want you to know I care about you, and
for sure.
So yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's be the most thoughtful person in the room, and
Right.
do it in a way that's realistic for your life. And you will always win by making sure people know you care about them.
Right. Exactly. Love it. Well, thank you so much. We have to reconvene this conversation with an AI panel.
For sure. We'll
But
put a bunch of people together and we'll talk about how they're coming for all of us, but in a good way.
yeah, in a totally good way. Good way. I think it'd be awesome. So thanks, Jeff. I appreciate you being here and being on this call.
Thanks, Lynea. I appreciate you, and I love hearing like your whole journey and all the success you've had with as a client giant. So appreciate that.
Thank you. Love it. This conversation with Jeff was just so refreshing. Thank you so much for sharing such an honest and practical perspective on scaling relationships. If you take away one thing from this conversation, it's this: client care isn't a one-time gesture. It's a system that runs whether you are in the room or not. So I ask you, what is one small, consistent action you can automate this week that are going to make your clients feel truly valued? Share it in the comments and let's keep that conversation going. And remember, you don't have to burn out to be successful. You can totally live a burnout-proof life with a business that supports it. And I will see you on the next episode.